Good morning and welcome to the Coffee Table Talks. How is everybody? Look, I got a new cup. It's best wishes, warmest regards. If you guys watch Schitt's Creek, that's a thing. It's a thing. It's a whole thing. I'm so excited. And I had to get it because today with us we have Joe Hall, who also is a bit of a Schitt's Creek fan, and probably, I mean, even if you don't follow Schitt's Creek, it's just a fun mug, right? Because how many of us respond to emails with best wishes and warmest regards? With me, as always, is Will McCullen, the program manager at the IT Center for Excellence at Pima Community College in Tucson, Arizona. Got it. Levy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Excellent.
Hi.
Thank you.
I'm Levy. I have the best hat. I do weird lurking darknet things. Hi.
Weird and darknet things.
Yeah.
Excellent. With the squid hat all the time?
Sometimes other hats. You got to come back for more episodes to see the other hats.
Yes.
And a cat.
And a cat. And there's some wolf mutts running around, correct?
There is one. She's somewhere. She'll come.
Oh, great. Fantastic. So we're going to get to the squid hat in a second. Joe, introduce yourself.
I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe.
I'm head of security services at Nile. We are a networking startup that just came out of stealth about a year ago, and we are really disrupting what everyone's been doing. So it's a good time.
And we're gonna get to all that disruption, definitely, because I want to ask lots of questions about it, and I'm sure Will does too.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
And then Levy will interject. Where they
fellow plumber. Yeah.
Ooh, a network nerd. Yes.
Levy, you have a cat fan of your hat.
Thank you.
Where did this hat come from?
I found it eons ago. But there's a photo of my mom's husband with a similar hat that from like a carnival from like 10 plus years ago, and he got the biggest kick out of this thing, but he didn't own it, like buy it, like he just put it on for a picture.
Yeah.
And so when I found it, I bought it so that I could show up at their doorstep with this hat on. It was great.
I love it. All the delight.
So what you're saying is that the hats thing is kind of a heredity thing. Is that
at this point it is a family tradition?
I love that.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Cool. So Joe, we did we officially meet whenever we were in Tucson together? Is that when we first met?
I think that was the first time we officially met in person with Chris Roberts and Alyssa Knight. Well, I think she was remote for that one.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I've ever seen a dog down a gallon of tea for bedtime with Chris. That was hilarious. That Milo was a thirsty dog.
Yeah. So we rented this house. Secure Nation rented this house to have everybody that was going to be part of this panel event that we were doing. And you can go back through the YouTube and watch it if you want. It's like a 2-hour long event where it was me and Will and Chris Roberts and Ryan Cloutier and your dude, Brett. And Brett Scott. Yes. And we got to put those 3 yahoos up in front of all the students, and they got to ask all kinds of fun questions. And then we hung out after for a long time, and we had an after party. Oh, yeah. So one of the requirements for the house to make sure that my friend Chris was going to be comfortable hanging out with us was that Milo also needed to be comfortable, because you'll hear Chris say it more than once that Milo is not his dog. He is Milo's human, right? Like it's the other way around.
Yeah. Well, the other cool thing, right, is that our dean, Jim Craig, awesome guy. He's also the dean over Vet Tech. So we had a veterinarian there on the spot to be able to certify and, make the bureaucracy happy. Milo. And so Milo's trotting around through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Milo
And
got to go to the
it was
event.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if anybody's ever had the pleasure, okay, so Chris Roberts' dog is a Great Dane. He had a couple at the time, but Milo was his travel companion, and he's a whole person. Like
Horse. It's like a
a
horse.
whole person. like I'm 6 foot tall and built like a linebacker, and this dog is like the dog equivalent of 6 foot tall, built like a linebacker. Like I've never been around
my
an animal that made me feel small. But
So my dog. You're talking about my dog. Also.
is that your dog? Your dog is also a horse?
Nymeria is the size of a person and the weight.
Excuse me.
Well,
Gesundheit.
Especially in the winter because she gains 20 pounds of fluff. So she just becomes like a bear.
Oh, nice.
oh man. Joe, you got pets?
I do.
you
I
pet-
have ankle biters. I
Yeah?
have a Chiweenie and a Torini.
What's a Tarini? I know what a
A
Chiweenie
terrier
is.
and wiener dog mix. They're really weird. They're both rescues. They
Yeah.
one has an underbite, the other one has almost no lower chin, so he kind of like
oh no.
they're both the opposites of chin length, but they're funny dogs. Yeah, they're big brave protectors.
I'm actually a little more scared of little dogs than I am big
Oh,
dogs.
they're big. Little dogs are the worst.
Yeah.
I'm always, you know what it is though? I'm not afraid of them per se. I'm afraid of me accidentally stepping on them. Is the
that
problem. I'm like,
I'm
oh,
trying to
no.
get the giant dog for you, but she doesn't want to come.
Oh, that's fine. Mine decided outside was a better place to be this morning. So we just got them all shaved down and haircuts for the summer because we live in Louisiana, right? And I have a
happens.
Great Dane mix and a rough collie.
Oh, big
So she's
baby.
like floof, like so much floof. And one and I just really fight every day with all the pet hair. So we got this shaved down the other day, and they both look so skinny, but they're cold. You see the blanket on the couch? It's because they've been wrapping up in the blanket in the house, and then they go outside to like sun like lizard people.
They
But
wanna-
it's always super fun. So that was a really cool event that we got to all do together. And
Yeah,
it was
it was,
awesome to meet and hang out with you. And where were you at then, though? You weren't with Nile then.
I was with Fortinet then.
Yep.
So yeah, we were talking about involving their field CISO team and stuff and doing some other events in the future, but I don't know whatever happened to that.
Gotcha. That's okay. We're not.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make you feel bad.
Hey, I want to get down there again, and yeah, I've got a lot of toys for Will. I have so much networking equipment that just collects dust, and I'm like, you guys want to break this? Like,
Oh, we'll put that to use in the range.
That's awesome.
The
yeah.
students love that kind of stuff, right? So that's the beauty of the Arizona Cyber Warfare range that we have down here, is that it's the place where anyone in the community for free can come and learn how to hack. And so when we get stuff like from Joe, where we can set stuff up, students can walk in and it's like, I've never done, well, there you go. There's some equipment. Go for it.
Awesome.
And we'll help you.
It's
So,
cool.
Yeah,
It's so
very
cool.
appreciated. Very, very appreciated.
yeah, anyone ever saying they want to get into hacking and cyber stuff, I always forward them over to your school. I'm like, if you want to learn the
Oh,
best,
thanks.
and literally they're in the backyard of the home of Air Force Signals Intelligence. So that's very handy. The audience and the caliber of engineers and people that are into breaking things and protecting things and stuff is surrounding you. And it's just,
So
it's a cool experience.
It's awesome. Like, and you don't like if you just you're like, so I heard this word once called hacker, and you just walk up and you're like, what's a hacker? Like they'll just put you in front of equipment and they'll go, take it apart, do stuff,
Yeah.
play with it, twist the knobs, punch the button.
And not just workstations, but servers.
Yep, all of it. And you
Yeah.
can,
That's really
as you
fun.
go, ask questions, all kinds of stuff. It's so cool. Like just mind
Oh
blowing.
yeah. Well, they're doing things like if for those out there that may not know what a Tempest attack is, you can pick up over the HDMI cable the radio frequency and replay what's on the screen. We have students picking up all the gas and electric meters. I mean, doing just all sorts of weird, fun stuff.
That's awesome. So Joe, you weren't always at the level that you're at, right? Like most people, you had to start somewhere, right? Like Will's students.
I didn't come
right?
out this way, that's for sure.
So you started out in the help desk arena?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the military. So again, that's, out of intelligence and cyber, and I had access to computers at a really young age.
Nice.
When most of my friends were out playing, I was, writing my own software and building little, handheld radios and, finding my way into various networks and communication systems that, for educational purposes only. And
Sure. Okay.
I learned a lot, and I got some opportunities where at 15, I had my first job in IT for a Linux startup called Caldera. Caldera SCO, if the Unix company they acquired as well. And it got my feet wet, and then the .com bubble burst, and it was like, okay, I'm going to work sales for a couple of years, and then had a friend, give me a role. I was working a call center job, and he was out for a day, and the system had gone down, and I knew Linux, so I popped into their server, their Asterisk PBX, and cleared out the problem it was having. And he's like, I didn't know you knew how to do this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm a lot better at that stuff than I am at selling, but he goes, why don't you do IT for me? So I got back into it, and I've been in there since. Like, got Cisco certs, and then picked up a role at SonicWall.
Yeah.
And was there for a couple of years as they started building a more mid to enterprise business. And then left to PGP, got bought by Symantec, and was there for a couple of years, then went back to Dell and bought SonicWall. And so I got to go back and work for their, for John Gamunder's like CTO white glove team. And they had just built their full enterprise bladed architecture. So you were taking essentially 8 SonicWall 7500, their top enterprise series, and we flipped them on their side and stuck them on a backplane and made a firewall that was super massive, is what they called it. So,
yeah. Wow.
He's
girthy.
Yeah, super massive
Great
firewall. And then we invented the firewall sandwich. So that was we put 2 of those up top, and then ran a bunch of their enterprise 2U units as essentially stacked blades. And we did a firewall stack that we demoed at Dell World that was like $10 million. That was like one full server cabinet would do a terabit a second of deep packet inspection, like full SSL inspection. So nice. Yeah, fun stuff. That used to protect Dell.com, but not anymore. So they're much bigger now than 10 years ago. But it was a cool experience to build that stuff, and just, most of the opportunities for the cool things I've gotten to do in my career and life were just because I said yes. Like, they're, hey, we need someone to go and run network cyber for the Olympics in Rio. Like, can you go down there? And at the time, there's Zika virus and, all the economical and social problems that Brazil was dealing with at the time. People were like, ooh, I don't know if I want to go. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, I'm up for an adventure. Let's hop in. And every time I've done that, like, sometimes you just have to embrace the suck for a little bit. But
no, I like to call it way to be fearless. Is it foolish? Maybe, but
I had a good time.
Right? Yes, no, that's 100%. Like, and I'll tell people if they ask me to help them do something, I'm like, I haven't done this before, but I'm sure going to try real hard. Give me like 10 minutes. I'll figure out a few things, see what you think, and then we'll keep going, or we can just not.
Yeah,
you're one of those wonderful individuals who has made a life out of being paid to play.
Yeah. You get to go, you want to go break this stuff and fix it and make sure it stays active. Like you might have a nation state try to attack you and kill you at the time, but you'll have a good time doing it. Like, okay, sure.
Great, sounds fun. When do we leave?
Yeah. Got my go bag. Let's boogie. A
love it.
Pelican case on the roll and a backpack. That's all I need.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little about what you're doing now and what's going on over at Nile.
Yeah, we've so the startup, they've been in stealth for 5 years and they came out a year ago. When I joined, I had spoke to my former manager Uday and Suresh and Pankaj Patel and Sri and John Chambers. We've just got this dream team of execs that have come over from Cisco and Aruba and all these like old school, very well protected network and AI intelligence guys. Suresh was a professor at Stanford on AI. That's my current boss.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you win.
Yeah, like all these guys, like every single one of them they just have such a wealth of experience and information and what they built. So regular switching architecture will allow when you connect to it, it just starts screaming out like, hey, I'm here. I need to connect. Like I need a DHCP server or and then DHCP will respond and hand it data and then it can just start talking.
Right.
So and a lot of that is because
enablement.
Networking, enable that, and people want stuff to just work when they plug it in.
Right, plug and play. Let's plug and play.
Yeah. But networking in general was, the original creators of this were a bunch of hippies in Santa Cruz, and they all loved everybody, and everyone's going to get along, and no one's going to behave badly on the network. Like This is the core nervous system of everything. We should just have implicit trust, right? Like, especially with BGP. Like
build the world you want, I guess.
Yeah,
literally.
They were dreamers and open source guys. And like when I started Caldera, like I loved that. And just the spirit of creation that the Bay Area had at that. It still has it, but like back then in the 90s and the 2000s, like it was a different world. It was awesome to be part of and see. But now we're in a world where everybody is on the internet. It's not just the professors and the military kids and stuff like me that were on there, and
not just
freakers.
anymore. Oh, no.
Yeah, not hacking analog phone systems for free phone calls with the cereal box whistle. So the times had changed, right? So we built a switching architecture that when you plug into it, you aren't allowed to do anything. You can't go out and request broadcast traffic. You can't just sit and sniff it and look for stuff. If you're allowed to communicate and your device is trusted, you'll be able to talk to other things on the network, but only through that gatekeeper. So versus being able to talk to everything on the switch, we proxy everything out. So your firewall up top or our cloud distributed security architecture that we send you up to can be your access broker, tell you what you can and can't reach. So by default, you are completely untrusted from layer 2 through 7 in the OSI model. You can't talk to anything else unless we tell you to. So our devices are switches, but they behave a little different. And it gives really like I grew up but really worked for a lot of firewall companies. I did grow up there. I mean, honestly, looking back and when I first started at SonicWall, I thought I knew everything, but I was still pretty green. Seeing all of like what I've wanted switching and wireless to do in every network I design, my ideal design is I inspect east, west, north, south, everything. Nothing goes past this network without going through my inspection protocols. Because if I'm fighting, like when I would troubleshoot stuff, like way back in the day, I'd bring a little hub with me and anytime I'm in a network problem or something like that, I'd plug that hub into the network and start doing Wireshark captures and see what's going on the network. Because that was always, where you really find the bad demons. You can find stuff on workstations and endpoint and this and that, but like the real bad actors and the real good ones are not dealing with your endpoints. They are in your network, and they're in your chipsets, and they're your boot sectors and your running memory. So you don't ever know they're there, especially if you're not inspecting for it. So I would always try and architect networks that shoved everything up to the firewall to me, but you still had blind spots.
Right.
Broadcast traffic across the switch. If it's in the same broadcast domain, it can talk to other devices in that broadcast domain.
Right.
Or if your switch has vulnerabilities, like there are companies that have technical debt that's 20, 25, 30 years old, and some of this old hardware is still somehow functioning, and they're under the idea that if it works and everyone can still connect, we're safe, we're fine.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's happened yet. It will be okay until they're not. And then you have to do a lift on 25-year-old architecture, and there's no upgrade path because it's so old and so far behind. And you're doing like a threat assessment on a network like that. And like if you take switches that are 20, 25 years old, you're looking at 10,000 plus CVEs.
Yeah,
Where
it's a bunch because they've been in the life for so long.
Yeah,
So-
we found every demon, and there's so many, it's not even worth trying to clean or protect from them. You just have to move on to new architecture because AS4, your AS, Ryan, my AS400 just works. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
That works
during
in every
COVID,
area.
we took over. I worked as CISO of Heroic Cyber. We did threat intelligence, dark web data, and we also had an MDR business that really took off during COVID because we had all these hospitals that were under cyber attack or mid transition, and they were just, it was a difficult situation for them. And we hopped in there, both feet first, and we're going to save these hospitals. So, they were getting threatened by nation state actors. And, we jumped in there and tried to help them. And when you're auditing old systems, the hospital systems, especially AS400s, oh my gosh, like in the old IBM architectures that run like hospital databases, you've got 80% of the profit in a hospital is made off of imaging, right? So the functionality of their database, like an AS400 or whatever, is so mission critical to their business. And so much of the architecture and code in there has been ported from serial that the way it behaves on a modern network is just atrocious. I found this bug where they were scanning documents, and it was like, rather than sending each document separately or 100-page doc, it would scan and save page 1, then page 1, page 2, then 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it ended up, the packets got so big on the network that it was like over 9,000 bytes, and it was crashing switches because it was stacking all the old serial junk into the way that it wrote data. And it was like, this has been ported from so long ago that it doesn't even make sense on a modern network. But they're bugs you only find if you understand the network, and you can run a packet capture and know, like, hey, I shouldn't have packets over 1,500 bytes in this network. I'm not running jumbo frames. And even when you're running jumbo frames, you're up to 9,000. You start saturating that, like, there's nothing left. Your memory's going to puke on your switch, and it's going to die on you. Like, okay.
So to unpack that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Coming back from Networks of Old,
for us.
they had RFCs where they shared ideas. Hey, let's do this. Oh, that didn't work. Hey, everybody, all these colleges together, let's make this happen. Right. And so it was that super trusted environment.
It was.
And that has been the mainstay for years and years and years. And now it sounds like, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're taking all of what that was and then encapsulating it, putting it inside your proxy element to where now no longer when you plug into a switch port are you just part of everything that's on that switch. You are now controlled as individual elements all the way through.
Correct.
Does that kind of make
Yep.
sense? So
you get your link speed negotiations, your layer 1, where you communicate with the port and you say, okay, yeah, I'm a 10 gig interface. And it's like, cool. Past that, if you're not trusted, your MAC address, so you can start with MAC addresses. We have a bunch of different identifiers that you can pinpoint to the edge connecting to it. But once you connect into that, it goes up to our command devices that control where you can go. So we have a cloud that everything dials into. And inside of that, you can manage off your portal what devices are allowed and not allowed to connect.
now,
You can create profiles and allow certain profiles of hardware connectivity and certain connectivity so that it automatically will work when you plug in. But other than that, you're isolated. You cannot discover the other devices on your network. You can't. So in a ransomware attack, for example, when an actor gets into one of your endpoints, someone brings in a laptop that's already hit, the first thing that's going to start doing is sniffing your network. It wants to know what else is out there.
Right. How
It's
far it
going
can
to start
go.
probing. Yeah, where can I rest? Because really, like, step 1 of hacking anything, once you're in, or really step 2, right? Once you're in, you need persistence, because if antivirus or squirrely administrators hunting for you and they find you, they're going to kick you out, and then you're not going to get back in because they'll discover how you got in. So you want persistence, and then you want to be like the little the broom in Alice in Wonderland, just sweeping up the tracks behind you so no one can find you. So in a network, that discovery segment, when you start sniffing out and finding other devices that might not be as well protected, you have EDR, how are you protecting your printers or your security cameras? Or, say you unfortunately stuck a lot
IoT.
of Hikvision cameras in your network that have like some of the worst CVEs in the world right now for them that you can embed onto their chipsets. Or like this attack I discovered a long time ago in Honduras. It was the first terabit a second attack that hit Cloudflare. And they were all embedded into Sony like HD 1080p like street cameras. So they didn't change the default password on these cameras when they were installed. And
of course not.
yeah, because it's a camera.
Just makes it hard, right?
Who cares about a camera? If they hack it, what's the worst they can do? What they're not thinking is, this has a gigabit a second connection or more to the internet, and it's feeding HD video to whatever you're pointing it at. So this attack embedded on these Sony cameras into their chipset and turned it into a massive botnet. So you had all these cameras with high bandwidth capability and the ability to send huge packets with HD video. You don't even have to generate BS data. If you're trying to DDoS somebody with this nonsense, you just point that camera feed at whatever, you're trying to attack, and you have millions of these cameras that are vulnerable, all pointing at you at the same time. You're going to saturate your bandwidth. And if you don't have good CDNs and DDoS mitigation and stuff planned out, you're going down hard. Cloudflare, that's their bread and butter. They were targeted and they withstood the attack, which was amazing, especially at the time. I mean, it hadn't happened before yet to that scale. But my point is, you have blind spots in your network that, you don't think they're as vulnerable as they may be. But if there's just a little space somewhere where a good threat actor can hide in your memory, in your chips, in your storage, in your flash, and whatever you've got on these devices, you're not going to find them once they get persistence in there. It's a lot harder because there's no longer a path.
So for folks out there, right, that in normal switches, they don't go through the firewall if you're on the same switch. And so that's what he means by east-west traffic, is
Yes.
that once you get on there, then you can hit the other things that are plugged into that switch before it goes to the firewall. And so that makes it really hard to protect along those lines. Now, here's a question for you though, Joe. Because the whole concept of the internet and the way things were built with the protocols was to be able to create a large global network where everything kind of worked well. It sounds like now you have a protocol where, sure, great for your company. You're making these switches that is fine if everybody has your switches. But what about environments that, are made up of multiple vendors? Or are you creating new standards that others can adopt?
So you have to use our hardware to do this, and we don't trust anyone else's because nobody else is like
Of course,
ours.
you can't,
But
right?
I can't, right? So, but we
Nobody
do.
else is doing it.
No one else is doing that. Like I can allow them to plug in, but like I'm also plugging in a hole, just leaking sieve of chaos that's plugging into, my very clean, pretty network. So we run network as a service. So all of this is a monthly subscription model, like your cell phone service. So you don't worry about what cell towers I do worry about what cell towers I'm connecting to, but
You can't do much about that.
You
can't
don't
do
as
much
a
about it. I'm
as
not
a
managing it.
consumer-
It's not my network. Yeah.
as a consumer, you're
Alpha
not worried about
FBI,
it. Joe and
live
his
in
team
color.
Joe and his team are worried about it for you.
I'm always anxious. I can't walk through a public place and be like, I wonder if there's IT staff that is handling this, or found myself on a Carnival
mean,
cruise
same.
ship, discovered there's no local IT on the boat. I'm like, cool. So what happens when the worst happens here, guys?
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. We were chatting in LinkedIn was that last week or earlier this week?
Last week my their bad QoS and me getting charged hundreds of dollars on my phone bill. That was fun.
Yeah. Brian says he loves the way you said no trust.
I'm with Ryan. No trust.
Yeah, no trust. So, I don't trust anything. So anyway, our devices, we have something called MaxSec that we do a certificate exchange between our devices, so that you can't even mimic pretending to be one of our switches. It won't allow it in. So we can expand out, and we do operate on that edge with protocols. So like we have OSPF that we can route with. So when we route to your firewall, you're getting layer 3 OSPF route to that device, or into your cloud architecture, whether it's like Zscaler. We have partnerships with a bunch of these different vendors, Fortinet, Sophos, Checkpoint, Sonic, all these different providers. I mean, we can plug you into anything on your security stack. We're not firewalls. Our cloud stuff can do some security, but like internally, other than controlling that side of things, you want to go to a firewall to control your edge outbound, or to our cloud CDN to control your edge that way, in your exposure. And that way we handle your security from that point. But it runs network as a service. The goal is to be as reliable as electricity. So if you have a trusted device and you plug it in, it's going to work, and you're going to have group access into whatever you need on that network, because everything will be architected. And it forces you to understand what your assets are. And in a network, like every single time, anytime I did DFIR or any incident response stuff, I go in there, I'm like, okay, what are your assets? What is the most mission critical thing that makes your business the most money that we have to save first?
Right.
Give me this breakdown, and where are they, and what do they do, and what do they have access to? So you need to understand what you're protecting. And, once you understand what you're protecting, how do you protect it? And knowing where all those assets are, our management portal shows you everything. You're able to see what traffic they're using, what they're doing, what they're up to. If they're behaving badly, if they start, I've tried making my own DHCP request packets to fool these boxes and think and working with one of my engineers, Chris Tristan. He's just an absolute machine. The guy's always coming up with stuff, but we've been talking about trying to break into these things, and you can't fool it. We're trying to pretend we're a MacBook, and
Have
it
you done-
keeps identifying us as Callie.
Have you done Mac injections?
Yeah.
Mac address injections?
Yeah, we try spoofing Macs. We try pretending we're something else. It's difficult. So we got a question here.
Yeah, before we get to Veery's question, really quick, I just want to point something out. If anybody after this talk is like, hey, Joe, I want to learn way more about this, and you replace all of your crap with all of Joe's really cool stuff, would they be able to donate all of their old crap to Pima Community College?
Look how excited.
I'm just saying. I don't intentionally always make wonderful friendships happen. But
Send old crap to Will.
friendship
Noted.
so just beautiful.
Yeah, but I have to remind everyone, I work for a community college, so we can't pay for shipping.
Yeah, you gotta bring it. But you know what? I got a truck. Out there. All right, at least one. You got one pickup truck in the delivery. I will volunteer my truck. I will drive from Baton Rouge and come get you.
They have to pay shipping to you, and then after that.
No, I need a little bit of gas and maybe a drive-through of Starbucks, and I'll be good. I'm good. I can drive 24 hours like that. I'm good.
And just to let everyone know too, that after we go through equipment, when we get rid of equipment, we send it to a wonderful organization called We Care that can recycle equipment, and the proceeds from that go to help folks in need that need laptops, be it students or things like that, or also to help provide healthcare type equipment for those that can't afford it. So whatever you donate our way, electronic wise, can be recycled and turned into good things. So
yes.
Thanks for the opportunity for a shameless plug.
What you guys do is incredible down there. And I send anyone who's looking for a career in cyber or understanding security, a range is where to do it. You want to break into stuff that, one, you're not going to go to jail for, and two,
that's nice.
Staying out of jail is important.
Please.
And two, you have older equipment and gear that you can actually break. It would not be as fun to go after a Nile appliance as it would a 25-year-old switch, because you're going to find so much more. And you can look for stuff, you can research known vulnerabilities and attempt them yourself.
And the unfortunate thing is those things are still in the wild, actively being used by corporations everywhere. So you might not have the latest tech that you're now a part of and well aware of, but you do have something that is a backbone that everywhere you're going to find it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to protect it.
100%. Here's a question.
Yeah. Hi, Joe. I was curious how the endpoints are identified by your technology. Mac was mentioned, but is there fingerprinting that occurs to validate the identity of machines?
There is. Currently, we identify 8 different identifiers. We have 8 different identifiers that we follow and track. So as you're trying to connect or discover or do things on our network, you're not going to be able to fool it. So it as soon as you plug into it, it's got a snapshot of what you are or what you're pretending to be. And if there are any inconsistencies, we do work with some other third parties in partnership with them too, so that we get the best of the best there. And then we have what we just launched called AI Ops. So I've worked for a lot of vendors. And when you run into a problem, say you're an end user customer and you run into a problem and you suspect this network's got a bug. Well, then you go from that to calling tech support. Tech support goes and troubleshoots and makes sure all your settings are correct and all of that. And they're like, okay, looks like everything's set up correct. This looks like a bug. Then a bug gets filed. Then you wait for a developer to respond back to you, whether it's, hashtag works for me or go soak your head. Usually it takes some time before, you get through to engineering and you figure out the problem. And then, okay, cool. So we figured out the problem months down the road. All right, we know the problem. We're going to work it into a fix. All right, what build line's that coming into? Release will be in 6 months. So, okay, so we've got a bug and a vulnerability now that we know about, we know where it is, but this whole timeline to fix something has taken forever, right? Sometimes years in some cases. So we have what's called AI Ops, and what it does is monitor all of our hardware or software. It takes images and snapshots of everything and hashes it. So something in some way changes on your network and it notices it causes an issue. It'll identify it. It'll create a tech support ticket. It will notify the customer. It will automatically assign the right development engineers that are part of that segment of code and even make suggestions of what to fix in the code for them.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite right there. It comes, it creates the ticket with the suggestion. Yay.
A Slack channel that pops up with all of the individual engineers that are part of that, and an incident number that comes up with it. Hey, this bug, it automatically found this, and here's how I think it'll fix it. And having these AI guys here is just epic. Like, we're able to do so much and move the needle so much faster on stuff that just irritated all of us collectively working in, for a vendor space or even the end user. When you're running into a problem, you don't want to, the discovery process is painful and it takes so long, and our device can recognize and almost self-heal. Like that is such a game changer and a shortening of, when you have a problem, for your time to resolution, so you can get back to doing the fun stuff. No one wants to sit and debug a firewall for weeks or months, or a switch or an access point, or find out what problem this is. We've created templates that it follows in a standard, and excuse me, if it falls out of that standard in the template and it starts breaking stuff, it'll recognize it and it'll fix it and it'll overwrite what broke and it'll tell you about it. And now we partner with different like SIM and SOAR platforms. So you're tying into your MITRE attack frameworks and everything else that you've got with the rest of your network. And it starts noticing, hey, you've got other problems here that are outside of my box and control, but it do a lot for you. Like I found customers sometimes where they were for years they had been attached to a 1 gig network port, and they had 10 gig internet, and years go by and they didn't notice they weren't running at this high speed. But a couple minutes of discovery of trained eyes going in there, and I'm like, hey, this doesn't look right. Hey, what's this firewall setting, and why is it using all your bandwidth and you're not even inspecting what you think you are in these other rules? Our AI picks up stuff like that, like an intelligent engineer would, in just going through and auditing it, because it knows a certain set of standards and how everything's supposed to behave. So if it's not doing that, it's going to tell you about it. And it's, I don't know, it is one of the coolest things I've seen in shortening the ability to resolve a problem on your network and giving you visibility into that.
That's cool, because let's say, I think I just read the other day on some of the proof of concept elements that are coming out, where there's weaknesses in like UDP traffic and stuff like that. Sorry, folks, for the geek speak, but the elements of that is you can have 2 points out on the network, and by spoofing their addresses, start a conversation between the two that just starts to loop itself, right? So that they're constantly just talking to each other. And if you send enough of those, that even though you're the hacker who's somebody completely somewhere else, that you can start up these conversations that'll just run out of control. So I'm kind of looking at that one going, oh my goodness, that's great. Could be interesting in the near future. But if you have a system that is looking for a baseline, right, that's trying to say what is standard traffic, then stuff like that, you can start to say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't look right.
Yeah,
That's,
it just gets better over time. With machine learning models, it keeps watching, and it keeps it understands what the baseline is, and if stuff starts coming out of that, it will recognize it. Like the machine learning models are incredible when they like in firewall speak and AI machine learning. Like I've been doing that for 20 years. I should put that on my resume and fly the flag for it or whatever, but there's enough junk on there already.
a t-shirt, t-shirt.
Yeah, I need to wear a
Would you like
t-shirt
your-
like I know AI. No. But seriously, like we've been working with machine learning models for 20 plus years in the firewall and security space. Like it's not new to us, and we've collectively as engineers with all these different companies, everyone's gotten better at it, and we figured out, like DPI SSL. No, full SSL inspection is not affordable in any way. It's very expensive to break open SSL. So if you are cracking that open, inspecting those packets, you have to optimize everything in your network and be ready for it. And like it threw that off. What's that?
Takes chips.
It does. It takes a lot of silicon, and it's expensive. And you have to optimize your traffic to know what you really want to expect. Like if you've got employees that they go to banking sites and stuff like that, like I don't really need to be inspecting what they're doing at chase.com. Like I'm not going to get a virus from Chase. So do I really need to crack those packets open and spend all the processor digging in them? No. Like what about them watching a YouTube video? No. But if my firewall is sitting running full inspection and man in the middle on that, like it's going to eat up resources. So or backups with proprietary encryption, your firewall will still sit and try and scan that traffic, even though it can't read it, but it's going to go through that scanning engine anyway, because you told it to. So, you're trying to scan an encapsulated packet that your firewall can't even crack open, but it's going to sit and chew up processor on it. So architecture is really important, and evolving into like these cloud and hybrid models where you can start utilizing like most of these providers, Google, like GCP, AWS, Azure, they have these metadata servers that are collecting all sorts of information on them about your cloud infrastructure. And you can access them and query these devices. So you can start integrating your network in to follow these tags and auto allow tagged architecture from, say, up in your cloud. You've got stuff in various settings and networks and like pods in the cloud, if you will, where you can tell it automatically, hey, everything with this tag can be part of this network traffic, and it can run through our network, XYZ. You can start architecting things like that, where it's not like an old PIX firewall where it's all source, port, and IP based security. Like you're doing so much more because we can recognize traffic now, where I don't care if stuff is over port 80 or 443 now anyway. But when it's within there, does your devices have the ability to recognize the application that's running through? Like what specific version of Teams is this communicating on? Like I can see that on the network. I can figure that out because we've been teaching these machine learning models and these signature databases and stuff for decades. Like we have a lot of information on what we can recognize and what we can't recognize. But the point is, we're down to a point where if you're trying to really realistically protect your network from a threat actor, you have got to focus on your network. You can't just put EDR in and call it good. And your EDR is not going to protect you. It will help. It's a step. And
I always feel like it's a very reactive tool. Like you're reacting to something.
Better now,
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like doing, partnering with Nile would be more of a proactive approach. So that's what I really like about it. Because I think we don't have enough.
untrusted
I don't think we have. I don't think we have enough investment in proactive as a whole, across, like
Yeah.
just across the board.
It can go a long way. And we do have like the telemetry data stuff that's come out of modern EDR. So when all the guys like left McAfee and they went and started like Sentinel-1,
Right.
Cylance, and CrowdStrike, you know, like some of the, and they make killer software.
Yeah.
And their telemetry data coming off of those is just mwah. Like when you plug that into a SIM and you have full SOAR architecture and you've got playbooks built out. Like I've had networks where I used to do a demo for Fortinet where it was a customer's deployment that they had all our Fortinet gear and then they had CrowdStrike. And I'm like, hey, you guys know we have a partnership with them in our open fabric. Their APIs can talk to each other. So as soon as I turned that on, all of a sudden, both the consoles lit up like we found a virus, but both had a blind spot because the Fortinet wasn't looking east to west traffic because it couldn't, because it was on, there were older switches below it and it was blind there. And the EDRs could see most traffic with that individual endpoint or other endpoints in relation to it. But as soon as it started seeing traffic that it thought was trusted, the firewall thought was trusted, communicating laterally, it noticed there was an infection in the network and everything started lighting up because it was able to communicate with the other devices. So like if, you know, I want everyone to get Nile gear for sure. But if you can't yet and you're in a situation, your budget's tight and, you've got to work with what you've got, like doing the basics, it just sanitizing your network a little bit and understanding where it is and maybe looking at it a little bit closer. Realize that you have a blind spot in your network that is just massive with that old architecture. And yeah, I don't see a way forward. Like the thought of me using another switch from another vendor now just seems like I'm asking for it. Like I can't so, after using it and getting comfortable with it, it just feels like I have visibility now that I didn't have before. And I have, like, as a company, I would have reliability that comes from a knock of just some of the best engineers I have ever met running that and jumping into it for you. And, most teams don't have a full-on security guy or a network guy full-time or somebody that, like me that will throw in a packet capture and, go, really pop the hood on your network. My abilities could stop at just viewing Windows logs and hoping I can find something in there, but even if that's all, do it, and learn some more. They're open source telemetry tools that you can start sniffing and plugging in and connecting your existing hardware to be able to talk to other devices and share when it finds bad stuff. It goes a long way.
So this is all controlled through the cloud. What happens when folks are trained? Pardon me?
There's no shell on our appliance. You can't pop up a local shell and do anything administratively on the device.
So if somebody tries to disrupt somebody's internet feed at the time, then what?
So if their internet is disconnected, their local comms based on the settings that were already on the appliance and the controllers still work, but they won't be connecting to the internet. Most traffic, like 80% of a business's traffic now, just goes out to cloud properties. So, Office 365 or Google Docs or, all these various large AWS or Azure GCP projects that people have built out in the cloud. Their infrastructure, a lot of it is no longer in the office. So they're going out internet pipelines anyway. So you want to have redundant connections. So every design that we do will have 2 or more internet connections. We'll run SD-WAN. And if they've got a large cloud orchestrator, or the space for that, we partner with Cato Networks and a couple other big CDN providers where they can distribute their architecture over a URL or a main IP that could change at any moment depending on where in the world they're connecting to it or what region or whatever. So our own CDNs have redundancy, as well as what we partner with other companies. So you want to have reliable internet. By now most people do. You want to have dual connectivity, and then we have redundancy planned in all of our stuff. So if something gets overwritten or broken or something on our appliances, it will self-repair. It will take that working snapshot of it from before that broke and fix it back. So you're not sitting there dead in the water. Good internet connection is crucial. When you're setting these up, there's a little QR code you scan with our application. And that application has authentication into our backend on the cloud, and it registers the switch, and then the switch can talk and communicate to it. So it'll apply the IP addresses to it, the public access or whatever. And if you want it to assign certain subnets or different ports abilities into different sectors, you can initially program that all from your phone. Or you can have templates already built out, and you have it come out from this template, and it auto deploys and tells you like, all right, plug this port into that port and that port into this port, and everything cascades and deploys on its own. Like that stuff. I've gotten it sometimes to work with other vendors and get it to deployed like that, but the ability for these to propagate are so much cleaner than, you don't have local access either. You can't hit the reset button on the back of this thing and then log into its default, settings and strip out your old settings and reapply like you could on, an old firewall or an old switch or whatever, where it's a lot of local manual configuration and labor to stand this up. This thing calls out to our cloud, it pulls down those configs, and it's ready to go.
Wow. All right, Will, you got anything else you want to throw at Joe? I got speaking of QR codes, I got one of those too. There you go. You guys want to come hang out with us next week? Scan that thing.
I think you haven't put mine up yet.
I didn't know. Do you want yours up?
I sent yours to you.
We'll have it up. I'll have it up next time.
Okay.
Nice.
Which one are we leading to? Are we leading to? Okay, so Levy does all kinds of cool stuff. Just so you know. So we're gonna have a QR code.
So you threaten tell at Macy's, right, Levy?
That is where I am right now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you followed any of the iSoon breaches?
I follow everything.
That one, oh man, that is probably as in depth as like the Snowden leaks. Look,
you guys are about to open up a can of worms. I was trying to close this can of worms. And y'all,
want to talk Intel or Darknet? We can talk, but probably off the air for today.
Yeah,
Stop that. You guys,
that's
I just drank
big rabbit hole.
I just drank 24 ounces of coffee. We have to end this because I have.
I keep telling you every time I'm here. I don't know why you keep trying to end it. I sit here quiet until I get to talk, and then I will talk forever.
I know, but we love.
John is correct. I have the most amazing hat.
Well, the thing that I love about this episode, right? Because I teach Wireshark, right? So I'll be able to take that to my class and say, check out this episode. Now you can understand it.
I like this because I've just been sitting here the whole time thinking of ways to hack things.
I know. I can see your little wheels turning in your eyeballs. Levy's like, what if I did this? And then Joe, and I can, and then
all of my questions were okay, but did you do these things? How do we test these things?
Yeah. And that was my interview process.
Yeah. Joe's like, nope, already shut you down. I know what you're thinking. I shut it down just that fast.
Yeah, our incredible Meg, the incredible Meg just put in the chat there. Thank you, Meg. Of We Care Tucson. So if you have any curiosity and want to know where the equipment goes and how it's a good thing, that's them.
Do that. We're here to make the world a little bit better every day. We try. Some of the affirmations I do with my kids every morning is we get better every day. They say it. I say it. The whole neighborhood hears us screaming it at the top of our lungs and doing a little twirl.
I fully believe that your neighborhood is hearing you scream things like that.
Oh, you don't understand. After the little kids get on the bus, the middle schoolers. So Meg lives 2 doors down from me, by the way. We have coffee every morning together and shout ridiculously loud
I love
at
that.
7:20 in the morning at her middle schooler as he gets on the bus, purposefully to like
Embarrass everyone.
yeah, oh yeah. It's 1,000. We're like, have a great day. We love you. We're gonna miss you so much. On the
You're
first
gonna get
day of
these
school,
children
Meg was-
bullied.
the first day of school, Meg screamed at him. She was like, "First day without your blankie. I'm so proud."
That's
So let me get
good.
this straight. If you work the night shift, your neighborhood is the wrong place to live, right?
No, I used to work overnights and like
So
overnight.
you're waking them up. That's what he's saying.
No. And look, the neighborhood I lived in at the time. We lived in some real crappy apartments when it was early, right, in my early adulthood, and 100% we would wave at the neighborhood children getting on the bus with like a beer in our hand at like 8 a.m. because for us that was like 8 p.m. Like if you work an overnight shift, it usually starts somewhere between 4 and 9 p.m. So if you're doing overnights, you're doing 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. or you're doing like 7 to 7 kind of thing, right, for 12-hour shift. But anywho, so no, if they're, you know what, wake up to the joy that is me and
No,
Meg
absolutely
We paid our
not.
dues.
I would absolutely not. I would not be able to do this.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'll have to record one for you guys. And
please. My request was going to be that when we got off air.
Do like a what's your name? Hey, what's your name? Tony.
Scream louder.
pretty awesome. Guys, the bus driver is so excited now. Like we've like trained her that is when she gets like 4 houses down, she starts honking and furiously waving. She's so excited. She can't wait. It's
She's like
awesome.
helping embarrass the children.
Look, guys, so today's message is buy stuff from Joe, donate your old stuff to Will, and spread joy like Rachel and Meg in the morning at coffee, and try really, really hard not to make Levy mad because they know how to break all your stuff. That's it.
And break into all of your things, yeah.
That's it. That's the message for today. We're going to see you guys next week. Joe, we really do have to go. We're like 2 minutes over.
Boo!
I know. Usually we do closing remarks, but I kind of like the way this one.
I'm
was fun,
going to
yeah.
keep talking after. I'll just.
That's
I know.
fair.
I know you are.
So am
I know.
I have purple team things to talk about. Let's go.
Nice.
Right?
Okay. We'll see you guys next week. You guys come follow the Secure Nation page on LinkedIn. That's where that QR code leads you to. Next week, we're having Danny Wolf.
That should be good.
Cool.
It is. And they're going to talk about probably all of the worst and best and most beautiful cybersecurity marketing crap. So if you got venting, ranting, you got stories about the best partners in your life that you'll never let go of, and you guys like go to each other's kids' birthday parties, come on. It's going to be fun. We're going to ask questions. Danny's very cool. Thank you again, Joe, so much. Everybody go follow Joe, reach out, connect with him and his team over at Nile. They're awesome.
And come see what the hat is next week.
And come see what the hat is next week.
I don't know. I need to step up my game. I should have worn a hat.
It's what I tell everybody. Join the hat game. Sometimes it's a wig. We don't know. It depends on the day.
But Joe, you have the best hair, though.
I do.
It's so beautifully cropped.
Thanks.
I love it. All right, guys. We love you so much. Have a great, wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week.